Hey, welcome back to Beyond Wellness Podcast, where we bring real conversation about strength, resilience, and the human spirit. Today's episode is very special. A few years ago, I had planned to sit down with a true legend, one of the greatest strict curl athletes in the 100% Raw Powerlifting Federation, a Hall of Fame member, a man who dedicated to the sport and inspired many, Mr. Billy Powell. Sadly, he passed away due to heart surgery complications before we had that chance. His story doesn't end there. His daughter has picked up the barbell, carrying on his legacy, moving forward with determination and pride. She's here today to share what it was like growing up with this powerhouse of a father. We'll talk about her own journey into powerlifting and how she's finding strength through grief while making her dad proud. This episode is about more than powerlifting. It's about family. It's about love and legacy, as well as resilience. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. That's one. There we go. All right. Casey's here. This is going to be awesome, guys. We're going to talk a lot about some powerlifting. I should say a little bit about powerlifting. And she's going to share what's going on in her life. So everybody go ahead and have a seat and settle down. So what's going on there, Casey? How you been? You like that cheer, that applause that they just gave you, the whole audience, the studio audience?
Pretty awesome. I like it.
Yeah. So go ahead and introduce yourself, share a little bit about who you are outside of power.
Yeah, so I'm Casey Powell. Outside of powerlifting, I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend. I have a lot of just kind of the regular daily stuff going on as everybody else, having to go to work and figure stuff out in this crazy time. So
for listeners who may not know, can you tell us about your father's legacy in the world of powerlifting?
Yeah. So, gosh, my dad has lifted since I could remember. I'm pretty sure, forever. He probably was born lifting, but he was a personality on the scene for sure. He started when he was super young. He did a lot for sports and stuff like that. He started by football. He was actually drafted into a summer camp for a pro league and ended up hurting his leg. So he ended up going from that to taking all his tenacity into physical fitness and sports like that instead. He did powerlifting, bodybuilding, kickboxing. It was a crazy thing when everybody was talking about what their dad could do. And I was like, my dad does all of it.
My dad can beat up your dad. That's what he can do.
Except for I was right. My dad could whoop their dad.
That's right.
It was just, one of those things. Really, especially with Raw, I remember very vividly. I was a little older. And when he got into 100% Raw powerlifting, he started off full power. I believe his initial years of competing with them was in like 2006 to 2007. And he was an all-around good lifter. He was someone who would, hit the challenge head on. He was strong. My dad was a powerhouse. There just was no in between about it. He had huge arms and just a bigger personality. So seeing him go on to compete in any way was very inspiring, even as a young lady. I didn't really understand all the things he did because I was a typical, daughter and teenager, and I was like, yeah, dad, nice trophy, but I remember a lot of people telling me how amazing he was just as a person. When his personality met the platform, from what I understand and from what I can see in a lot of the videos and stuff, it was very inspiring, but more so, I would say comforting to the people in the sport. He showed up as a friend. He showed up as a father figure. He was someone who would push you to do the right thing or to get out of the things that you were stuck in. And he would give a lot of, I think, solicited and unsolicited advice on lifting. Yeah. He would just kind of be the one that would step in and say, hey, we got to get it together. And why are you doing that lift when you're stronger on this? And you could be you could go places. You need to just get off that and get on this. Come on, get your head out of your butt, you know?
Right,
And
right.
that was how he was. So early on, he hit it hard. He had an amazing curl. I think in the beginning, before strict curl was really, really on the scene, my dad was doing, 167 pounds at the time before it gained popularity in his early 50s. And then it
Yeah,
was like up to 175. He was setting world records. He was, it was really the lift that he took the shine to, something that he really embraced and kind of helped with others who were early on to the scene, just blaze that trail. And yeah, I'm super proud of his early years on it.
yeah, that's awesome. So, how would you describe his personality and just the training aspect? Like, would you go to the gym with him and watch him train, or was it something he just kind of did on his own and then you heard about it later?
So my dad never really trained alone. He would later on in life, he would a little bit, being in Arizona and traveling to the East Coast for a lot of competitions. But
True.
really growing up, my dad had a crazy amount of people around him. He would train, he would do a lot of personal training for some of the guys up at the Air Force Base. I
Your dad
would go
was
to
in the
the
military.
He was in the military. Yeah, he was in the Air Force for a long time.
Okay.
He retired. So
Oh wow. Okay.
um
Nice. I
yeah,
didn't know
he was a paratrooper and did a lot of really cool stuff in the military. But he would go up on the Air Force Base and, train with all the guys. And back then he was doing a lot of bodybuilding. So
that.
he would have crazy, awesome diets that took him from,
Yeah, yeah.
huge, massive muscles to like slim down cut. And he would get all the guys on the, regiment, and they would all be over at the house. We would be going to the base, to the gym. I tell people all the time I grew up in a gym. My dad used to own one.
Mm,
And, I did go to the gym with him. But again, up until I was probably 28, 29, I didn't really invest too much time in the gym with the old man. I should have. Hindsight,
yeah.
it's always, 2020. But honestly, I would kind of avoid it because I would tell him, I don't want to get big like you, dad, and he would say, come on, sissy, you could
Mm,
do great things. You need to do it. Like he would tell me, you're stronger than all my boys. Like, come on. And I would say, no, dad, no, I don't. I wanted to do the cardio. I wanted to do
right.
the, the little stuff in the gym that made me feel like I was doing something, but I didn't want to, I had that misconception of building too much muscle. So
Right.
in the gym, I saw him work out with, gosh, so many great people. There's so many personalities that, I'll never forget, people that ended up becoming like family, brothers, friends of mine, just through his connections. Trained with a lot of professionals. He was just an all around good guy. He would come into the gym, go up to somebody, help them out if they needed. A lot of people would approach my dad. That was another reason I avoided him at the gym,
Mm,
because he had such a booming voice. And
okay.
he would, hey, how you doing, across the gym. And I would be sitting there like, geez, dad, and he'd be like, talking to everybody about everything. How's your kids? How's stuff going? He remembered so many people
Yeah.
off of a genuine love that he had for everybody. It was like his community. So yeah, there was a lot of people that he would work out with, and his training, it was intense. My dad's personality at the gym, if you were training with him,
Hmm.
it was a no joke situation. He would laugh, he would play, he would hang out with you,
Right.
but you were there to do your sets. You were there to his big word was attitude. You step up, you do it. You don't punk out. So you're there to work, you're there to do it, and if you're not, you're out of the way. And
Mm,
that's just how it was on the gym floor. He really pushed people to focus and to challenge themselves in the best ways, I think.
gotcha. Was his personality the same on the platform as it was at home?
Yeah. Yeah, it was very similar at home. I mean, at home, it was a little different. We grew up barrel racing horses and stuff like that, and we grew up more so like in a loving small community of people where we were barrel racing and riding horses and stuff like that. Actually, one of my earliest memories of my dad's strength, like his brute strength, was there was a girl on a horse. The horse had gotten its legs stuck in, I believe, a fence or something. I was really really young, but the horse got its hoof stuck in the fence and fell on top of her. And my dad
Mm,
picked the horse up off of her,
what?
lifted the horse. off of
What?
her and took his other hand and drug her out from underneath the horse. So I just remember that being my like one of my very first like core understandings that my dad was very strong.
Right,
At
right.
home it was always very encouraging, very uplifting. He was someone who would, as much as my dad could accomplish,
Mm-hmm.
he knew you could accomplish more. And I
Mm,
think that was just so different to see because a lot of times people are very reflective inward, very self.
right.
And my dad was very reflective outward. Everyone else, how's everybody doing? What's going on? How can I
Oh,
help you? What's your next challenge? He would show up to all the things. It didn't matter if I wanted to be the best knitter in the world or the best chess player or if I wanted to do photography or whatever. He would show up, but he expected you to do the very best. He wanted
mm,
whoever was at the top, that's who you're beating. That's
right.
who you're going. And if you're not ready to go there, he's going to get you there. And he knew stuff about hobbies and stuff that I was like, I was just saying, Dad, I might want to do, whatever it is. And he would just be like, okay, let me know when you're serious. So, I
Yeah.
mean, at home, it was very much similar, but with a little more, I would say, patience or like love, little grace on that part. We weren't just as gym friends, we were as kids.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha, gotcha. So since he was a Hall of Fame athlete in the strict curl, what did those achievements mean to him as well as to your family?
Yeah, the strict curl, the Hall of Fame. I want to thank Paul Bossy
Mm,
personally. Always, I do in person when I see him. But I want to thank Paul Bossy for inducting him
mm,
before my dad passed away. My dad was so excited about
yeah.
that, so proud, and I'm going to be honest with you. My dad had accomplished a lot of really big things that he didn't really talk about. Seeing him so fired up, in his suit, and he told everybody before he went out there, oh, I'm being inducted into the Hall of Fame with a lot of my friends, all my friends, all these people, and a lot of it too was he was so proud,
Yeah.
but I think also he was so proud of the ones he was being inducted with. He was
Yeah. I
so
can see that.
happy for them. He was so excited to be part of that group, and I'm really proud of him. I was at the time, and to be very transparent with you, I still don't, but I didn't all the way understand everything that it took for him to get there. You hear about it. You hear
Mm,
about all those things. I think a lot of times we as people take things for granted because
mm,
we see the end result, right?
right.
You see the cake once it's made. You don't see all the things that are going into it. You don't
Right.
see all the pressures. You don't see the failures. You don't see the hardships. You see the end result. And so even someone so close to him, I saw a lot of his end results. I saw what he was doing, but I
Mm-hmm.
was like, yeah, yeah, Dad, and in my head or in my heart, it's like, Dad's strong. He's super okay, Dad. Yeah, lift up the bar. You got it. That
Mm,
was like, I was like, okay, dude, yeah, you got it. And but when he was inducted in the Hall of Fame, I think I kind of realized, even gently realized, that there was more to it than what I had initially understood. And he had he had written out this speech and he was so excited. I remember he came back. I have his Hall of Fame ring.
mm,
I have his Hall of Fame plaque still.
nice.
He came back, he had his stuff, but more than his stuff, he had his stories and he was so excited to tell everybody about all his friends that got inducted with him. And a lot of times I would say, "Oh, Dad, tell him about your curls and the stuff you did." And he's like, I did it, but
Right.
man, this guy's a monster. Or yeah, this guy, or this lady, she's volunteered so much and she does so much for them. And it really taught me that even at the epitome of what you reach, your goals, your top, your tip top, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the people that are around you, the reason why you're there, and the people
Right.
that you encourage are really what matters. So his achievement was huge. And again, I thank the 100% Raw Federation for making it happen. He definitely earned it. He deserved it. I'm glad he went. I'm glad he got it. But I'm really happy that they made it happen before he didn't get to see it happen.
Right. Right. Yeah. You talk about your dad's excitement and joy and everything else. I remember him and I messaging each other
Yeah.
back and forth. And I was like, oh man, yeah, I'd love to. Let's talk. I want to do this and we can interview. And he's like, yeah, I'd love to, man. I got so many stories. And just like you were saying, there were stories that he was just even telling me.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, oh man, okay, yeah, we're gonna have this happen. Then obviously he was having some complications. He went into the hospital.
Yeah.
And he was even messaging me while he was at the hospital, hitting me
Yeah.
up like, hey, okay, listen, I'm gonna be out of here soon. So just don't worry. We just got to put it off, this, that, and the other. I said, hey, no sweat. Whenever it happens, it happens. I'm looking forward to it. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so that I get it. I get it. And
Yeah. I remember him messaging you. He was super excited to talk to you. He told me all about it. He was like, "Yeah, Charles, he's my friend. He's got this podcast. He does all this stuff and he's going to interview me and I'm going to say this and that." And he was really excited about it. Actually, I think even into the rehab center, he was talking about it and really excited. I think that's actually one of the main reasons we got to connect. I don't remember if it was me reaching out to you or you reaching out to me or a little bit of mutual during
yeah,
that
yeah,
time
yeah,
frame, but I was just like, I have to do, there was a checklist of things that I had to do for the old man, and you were a part of that one, so
yeah.
I'm
Thank
really
you. And
excited.
thank you for this opportunity to talk to you because like I said, I was looking forward to talking to him and hearing these stories. And then, obviously, unfortunately, he passed. And then I was thinking, I was like, man, I was kind of lost for words. And I was like, well, wait a minute. It was unexpected, right? So, and it was one of those things where I was like, wow, I've never been in this type of situation. We didn't know each other, but I cared. Like we never met, but just based on the conversation and interaction, it was like, I want to meet this person. I
Yeah.
want to have a conversation with this person, right? So yeah, I thanks again for coming on here and just to be able to talk more about your legend father and everything.
Yeah.
But another question I have for you is what's one lesson or value he lived by that continues to inspire you today?
My dad's lesson or things that he lived by was really the people that you love. You can do all you want to do, but if you don't do for the people that you love, if you don't care for the people that you love or that love you back, surround you, support you, uplift you, then eventually you're just doing for yourself.
Mm,
And it gets pretty lonely. I'm going to tell you, I never saw that man lonely. I
mm,
never saw him without a friend. I never saw him without a family. Even when he passed away, it was very, very, very evident
mm,
how truly loved my father was back. So I think, his tenacity, his grit, the ability to be resilient, I learned just watching him, seeing him, living under that constant encouragement.
mhm.
But also, I think, just the people that you love, to love, to be there, to show up. If you say you're going to show up, you show up. If
Right,
you say you're going to care, you care. If you're pouring into a conversation, I found myself after my dad passed away, not that I wasn't, already intentional in my life, but I found myself being even more so. If I'm
mm,
talking to you, I'm talking to you. If we're talking about something, those silly responses you get, LOLs or
right.
whatever. If I'm laughing and I'm telling you I'm laughing, I'm laughing. If you're telling me about something with your family and I'm genuinely going to care because you have to. You have to buy into those who buy into you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got that 100% from your father. It felt like he cared about our conversation. He felt like he cared about the topics, the stories, and like you said, the other people, because he
Yeah.
wanted to talk about other people and things like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely seemed like a very good, very genuine person.
Yeah.
Do you remember any specific moments where you thought, wow, my dad is really special at this? Like when was that moment for you? I know we talked about it a little earlier, but when was the
Mhm.
actual moment like where the lights came on and you were like this? It's more than my dad is strong, but whoa,
Mhm.
my dad is he's him. He's that guy.
Yeah, when I was little, tiny, I remember people would call my dad. We lived in Montana and it gets, below zero, cold, lots of snow, craziness up there. And, my dad was always the person that was so accountable. You could call him and he would show up. And I remember, that was like before cell phones and stuff like that. Not to age myself. But, the house phone would ring and, it would be something like, hey, Bill, we're stuck in a ditch, can't get the truck out. We're at the house, can you come over with your truck? Can you help? There would be people who had, stuff going on. They needed any kind of encouragement, any kind of source of strength. And that was even just like, not just his physical, but his mental, his emotional, his ability to talk to you. And I remember, going into places with him. He played softball for a long time, and I would go into the the what do you call them, the like restaurant bars,
Oh, okay.
like
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of like a like a family restaurant type of
Sure.
place. And they would go there, to have pizza and stuff like that. And we would come in, everybody, Bill, hey, Bill, what are you doing? Blah, blah. And I would be like, walking behind my dad. Like, and eventually it turned. And I would walk in before my dad and I'd be like, Bill's coming in. Everybody.
Get
And it
ready.
was just kind of like, that's my dad. My dad's
Yeah,
coming in. It
right.
was very cool to see how truly excited people were to have him be around and to just talk to him and say,
Mm.
man, you really pulled me out of a hard place. You really
Mm.
showed up for my family. You really showed up for me. And sometimes just being around, being little and eavesdropping, I would be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, my dad's cool. So I think when I was little, I really learned pretty quick that my dad was somebody that other people really leaned into and really needed to. And I thought, wow, that's really cool, because you don't see that too often. You don't see a lot of
Right.
people being leaned into that much.
All right. So let's transition here a little bit into your powerlifting journey,
Yeah.
because recently, right? You first time you ever got on the platform here, what, last year or the year before it was?
Last year, yeah,
Last
in
year.
June.
Yeah. So what inspired you to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do this thing. I'm going to go get on this platform and
Yeah.
do some big things.
My powerlifting, it's funny because people will ask me, some people who know me, other people who don't really know me, they'll ask me that question. And it seems like a soft question, and for me, my powerlifting story, or the reason why I like to powerlift or what I do, it's so loaded emotionally that it's
Mm.
sometimes one of the hardest questions someone asks me.
Okay.
But, my dad was so driven, so driven. And he would train. I remember, sometimes it would kind of revolve around his diet, because I'd be like, Dad, let's go have lunch, let's go have dinner. And he'd be like, I can't, sissy, I'm trying to get ready for this competition. And for Raw, my dad would go to multiple meets. Sometimes if there wasn't enough enrollment in a meet, my dad would travel to just go to somebody's meet, so they had people showing up.
Mm.
So he'd be like, I gotta go to this meet. I can't eat with you, sissy. I gotta lose, 10 pounds or whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was like, okay, Dad. He my most relevant, like, biggest memory of him, when the years before he was passing or passed, was his tenacity to train. He would be training and then he'd be off and then he'd be training. But every year,
Gotcha.
he was training for Worlds and he was training for some competition with Raw. And
Right.
he would talk about it and I wouldn't know. I was like, Battle of the what, Dad? Okay. Or what, Worlds? Yeah, Dad, Worlds. And in my head, I thought, you're already a world champion. How many worlds are you gonna go and what are you doing? And I just would be
You
like,
the
okay,
He told
yeah.
me, he said, Pop, are you the champion of Pluto now? Of
Yeah,
Mars?
I'm like, oh, okay. We're getting ready for the planet competition of 100%, and I'm just like, all right. My dad's going to another Worlds, another
Hmm.
competition, another Worlds, another competition, another Worlds. He went to the Arnold, I believe, twice. The thing is like, when I got into powerlifting, it was 100% because my dad passed away. It
Hmm.
was it was 100% because of him. I remember. So my dad in the hospital before he had the heart surgery. It was his second heart surgery, valve
It
replacement
was
on
it
his
was
heart.
his, you said his second?
His second, he had had a valve replacement surgery, I believe, 10 years before
Oh,
that.
wow. Okay.
So due to the infection, it was like a blood infection, and due to that, it got into his heart valve. And they
Hmm.
had to do it again because it was messing up his heart. So before that surgery, I have a daughter, and they are or were best friends.
Hmm.
Two peas, one pod, those two. Best friends. And my daughter wanted to go and see him. I want to see Papa in the hospital. But we couldn't because during flu season and stuff like that, you're not supposed to, go
Right.
and take littles into the actual like hospital area because people are sick and all that. So there was a outer waiting room before they buzzed you behind the doors to where the patients were.
Mm.
And my daughter was allowed out there. So we had gotten Starbucks and my dad put slippy socks on and he went out, snuck out. And I have pictures of them sitting and having their little Starbucks. She had like a milk and he had a Starbucks and he's sitting there talking to her, and
Oh, I think I saw that picture.
yeah,
I
yeah.
did. Man. Okay.
Yeah, he was sitting there just talking to her, and when he got done with surgery and he went into the rehab facility, they wouldn't put him in PT, they wouldn't put him in physical therapy because of the nature of his surgery and, they didn't want to stress him and stuff. And my dad did not take no for an answer. They had I think it was like something like 12 to 15 rooms in one area and then there was a long hallway and 12 to 15 rooms on the other side. And he would use a rubber band and he would do laps on the
Right.
floor. He would
Yeah.
walk laps. And he would tell me, Sissy, I got to do 2 miles today. And I
Mm.
was like, Dad, you're not supposed to be working out. And he's like,
Wow. Wow.
yeah, he's like, I can walk, so I'm gonna walk. And he would do his laps, and he wasn't giving up. He never gave up. He actually was telling everybody, just like you, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna have this interview with you. I can't wait to tell you the stories. He was telling everybody, I'm gonna be back on the platform. There was a picture that he had shared of himself at the Arnold, and he put like, I'll be back, and
Yeah.
he was very intentional about the things that he had promised to do, that he always was going to fulfill those things, and part of that was competing. My dad, he was doing his laps and he actually passed away while that was going on.
Mm.
So when he finished a lap, he finished life's lap, and that
Wow.
was it.
Wow.
And
Okay.
when that happened, I don't know how other people feel all the way. I didn't even know how I was going to feel. People say all the time, you don't know until you know.
Mm.
And I will tell you that's very true. You don't know until you know. I was given a choice, right? I could sit in it. I
Mm.
could dwell in it. I could cry in it. I could break in it. I could disappear in it. I could become somebody else. I could lose myself in it.
Right.
And you easily can. You easily can. But my dad wouldn't have been proud of any of that.
Mm.
He just wouldn't. And the thing is who you really are comes out.
When things
He
are difficult, right?
Things get difficult and things get hard, and when your comfort breaks,
Yeah.
you're only left with what you got.
Right.
And my grief was heavy. My grief was deep, sorrowful, intense, hard, heavy.
I always share with people when I hear this, when we talk about grief, and there's this quote that says, "Grief is the price we pay for love."
Yeah,
And
yeah, I've heard that.
yeah, and to me, the first time I heard it, I was like, wow,
Yeah,
you are 100% correct on that, right?
yeah.
Because I lost my mother in 2019,
I'm
and
sorry.
I
Yeah.
didn't realize she was probably, I wouldn't say she was the first person that was that close to me. I had a cousin and some other people who passed away, but for some reason with my mother, it was deep. It was hard. It
Hmm.
hurt.
Yeah,
And I
parents. I think parents are like that.
yeah. And so that is definitely the price you pay for love, is that grief, because there's no getting away from it. Even when
No.
things got better, right, over time.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment me, my dad, my brother, my sister, we get together Thanksgiving one year and we started talking about mom,
Mm-hmm.
it was, everybody was
It's
choked up.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't go away. It's still
Yeah.
right there.
You,
So
you can
yeah,
suppress it,
yeah.
but it's not going anywhere. It can
No,
be
no,
less intense. It can be less intense, but
but
there's a
it's
moment where that intensity will come back, hit you, but it may now, even if the intensity is high, maybe the duration isn't so long.
yeah, my favorite thing to say, and it used to be my favorite thing to say, and I think when I would say it to others, I knew what I was saying, but I didn't feel what I was saying yet. I hadn't lost that deeply, but I remember reading one time, or I was told one time, grief is just love with no place to go. So how lucky are you that you loved that person that much that you can literally feel it? And as much as you feel, they felt that love 10 times over because that was the love you were giving them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the intensity of it, the weight of it, I had to really dig deep. And I realized, all the outpour from people who loved him, people who competed with him, people who missed him, who he changed so much in their life and encouraged them, and just all of that. These people were reaching out and, how are you? Do you need anything? We miss him. We love him. We're sorry. And, I think hearing how much people were going to miss him, I was reminded that I'm half of him.
Yeah.
I have a lot of what he had. And I remember thinking, my dad's not going to get to go to the platform. And that was hard for me because I had never been to the platform. I didn't know the worth of the platform. I didn't know the work of the platform. I didn't understand it, but I knew he wasn't going to get to go and that people were going to be let down. They're going to miss him.
Mm.
And more than that, I'm going to miss him and he's going to miss it. He's going to miss it. And TC reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to go to a competition. It was the Miami competition. They were doing the strong lifting. And my dad had planned to go and he would go down to Miami for that. And I said, yeah, I'll be there. TC said, come on down. We'll get you on. If you want to lift, we want you. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I said okay without understanding what I was going to do. I did not understand, but what I did know was that his last time on the platform was not going to be his last time. I was going to take him. And I told myself, you have a goal. You're not a power lifter, right? Your dad was a power lifter. You have to learn it. You have to learn the form. You have to learn the cues. I didn't know that they told you when to do things. So I was like, okay, you're going to have to learn it all. And you're going to have to just have some gratitude and grit. And you're going to have to just, grace and grit, get it together. And I trained my little brother, Joey. He competed with my dad quite a bit. And he came, he showed me form. He did the cues for me. He was like, your squat's not low enough. What is that? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just doing what I can. And he's like, that's not going to cut it. They're going to red light you. You better hope you don't hit red light Ray. He's going to destroy you. And I was like, who's red light Ray? What's going on? It was just a lot. But I decided, my dad wasn't going to not be there. I was going to take him. I had like a month and a half to train. My dad passed away in March that year, and TC invited me. And by June, I was on a plane going to Miami. I believe I lost 15 to 20 pounds to get into the weight class I wanted to get into. I was, I wore a singlet for the first time, but I was so excited. I was so excited just to go and bring Billy to everybody else. I wanted to show up for him and for them. And I was embraced so warmly by the 100% Raw Federation family. I got to meet Paul Bossy for the first time, TC, Chris, TC's partner, Chris, Gary Dieter, Johnny Wong, Joe Sabo, Ryan Sweeney. I met all these people.
All great guys.
Wonderful athletes, wonderful people, and they all loved me, surrounded me. Reagan was there. They were so awesome to me. So warm, so welcoming. Casey, we love you. All these people that I had heard over the phone talking with my dad or heard my dad talking about, but I had never gotten to meet them. They just showered me with love, and they were like, "You're gonna do so great." And I was like, "Okay, I got this." And even people that I had never known, just remembering who my dad was, whether it was through passing or hearing from him or whatever, they were like, "Wow, you're Bill's daughter. You're Bill's daughter." And I was like, "Yep, I'm still Bill's daughter. I'm here." And that first competition, it was great, man. Paul Bossy gave me a lifetime membership to the 100% Raw Federation. He commemorated my dad's lifting number and gifted it to me to where I lift under my dad's, lifter number now. And
That's awesome.
it was very, very touching to have these people who had built from the ground up. They knew what it took. They had been there. They had accomplished it. They live it. They put it on. They didn't care that I didn't know. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't care that I was novice, that I just came there. They were so proud of me and so excited for me
Yeah.
and loved my dad so much that they just embraced me and lifted me into that community. And I ended up winning for my, weight
Yeah.
class. And I have a first place strict curl medal. I have first place strong lifting.
Okay.
And strong lifting was new, so I set
Yeah.
some world records at that point because nobody else could say that yet. So I mean, now more power to the girls, the women in powerlifting.
Mm.
If you think the men are tough, boy, let me
Yeah.
tell you, these girls are beasts.
Yeah.
But I went and I did the thing. I got my first red light, went to the back, and I just fell apart. I didn't know, what it meant. I was like, oh my gosh, I got red lighted. I didn't get a lift. And I was still so new that I was
Right.
like, oh no, what do I
Panic
do?
set
And
in.
yeah, and but you gotta get broken somehow. You gotta learn it.
Right.
And I was really excited and so happy to have that opportunity to be there and bring him. And then after Miami, I got invited to go to Worlds. So
Okay. Well,
my
when
five.
when you were, I was going to ask you, when you were training though, did that
Mhm.
kind of make you feel closer to your dad?
Oh, 100%. Anytime I go into any
Okay.
gym,
Yeah.
I can hearing the weights, hearing the everybody talking and stuff like that. For a while, the gym that I went to when I was training, I had went to that gym a few times with my dad, quite a few times with my
Mm.
dad, or sometimes I would see him through passing. I would be on one side of the gym and I'd hear Sissy, and I'd be like, my dad's here. So, for a long time I could almost see him, hear him there.
Yeah.
Even still, sometimes I lift a bar and I hear attitude, and
Yeah.
it's a very empowering thing to go into that mainly male dominated space and feel, see, know that my dad is there supporting me.
Yeah.
I felt way closer to him, still going to the gym, not giving up, not dwelling, not overeating, not choosing other vices that people get into when they get sad. Not
Yeah.
saying that, vices are always something that are going to be around. Mine just happened to be iron. And
There you go.
that's okay with me. So, I was really excited about that. Even now, when I go into a gym, I see certain things, hear certain things, and I'm immediately reminded of him. I'm
Mm-hmm.
immediately comforted with him, and I think that's something very meaningful for me. I'll always find him in a gym somewhere.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
when you get an opportunity to lift in these different competitions, it sounds like you get really excited. And
Yeah.
do you feel like you're lifting for him? Like, okay, I mean, considering you got his number, so he's with you
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time in every lift.
Yeah. He's with me all the time, every lift. I feeling the platform for the first time, I was so emotional. I really had to gather myself before I stepped on the platform because I stood there for him.
Mm.
I lifted for him. Worlds was like a 5-year plan for me. I told myself, you're going to go to a few meets, you need to show up, you need to learn it, you need to earn it. And then you're going to go to Worlds, and I want to be a world champion powerlifter. I want to be able to say that. My necklace is actually a Hall of Fame necklace from Raw.
Okay.
It says Hall of Fame on it, and it has my dad's name on the back of it. And my
Nice.
dad had actually designed it when he got into the Hall of Fame. And I asked Paul Bossy if I could have one, and they made sure I got one. So I wear it, every day. And he, when I went to Worlds, I was so excited to be there. Oh man, I couldn't believe that I was able to go because they had gifted my dad a belt, named a belt after him. Ray Clasing, one of my dad's really close friends, sponsors it. He's sponsoring it again this year. Ray had named the belt after my dad, dedicated it to
Sure.
my dad. And I was going because I wanted to make sure I was there to present the belt. I was excited to be there and show up for my dad in that way. And then Paul said, "You're lifting. You're a lifter. You're gonna lift. You accomplished that. So if you're gonna come, you're gonna lift." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm lifting." And I got there, and again, so many people at Worlds. I think Worlds was it was like the big accomplishment, right? I was like, I don't know how I'm going to place. I don't know if I'll place, but I'm excited to be here because he would have been there. He would buy, he would be the biggest t-shirt investor they had. He would buy all the t-shirts and he would walk around and everybody loved him. He would have shown up and he would have lifted and he would have had a great time. I got to meet John Cooper. I got to meet,
Another
so
great
many.
guy,
He is awesome.
isn't he?
He's so nice. Such genuine people at these things, and I went and I thought, I'm at Worlds, what am I going to do at Worlds? But I think a lot of times I also had to give myself some grace because being
Sure.
Billy's daughter, like I'm not the strongest I will be yet, but
Right.
I'm a force. I'm strong. So like I show up on that platform and I lift. So, at the end of the day, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I was just so proud to be
Yeah.
Billy's daughter and to be at Worlds and be there. And I ended up I got 7 medals. I placed first, I
Nice.
believe, 2 or 3 times.
Yes.
And so I became a world champion powerlifter. And this was in November. So my dad
Right.
passed away in March. My first competition was June.
Mm.
And then by November, I was a world champion powerlifter. And nobody could take that away from me.
Right.
Nobody could say I didn't show up for
Right.
him. And I took him to the platform that he was gonna be at. And I was so excited. I was
Mm.
like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did any of this. Wow, and
Is there any
everybody.
is there anything you look forward to in the future, like within powerlifting, like as far as what you want to accomplish?
Me personally, what I would like to accomplish, so that's kind of hard
Mm.
because when I accomplished Worlds, I got invited to the Arnold Classic.
Okay.
And I was not going to go because I didn't feel ready. I didn't feel deserving. I didn't understand how I had made it to something so massive that my dad had went to. And I ended up going and second place for they had like it was just your weight class.
Right.
So
Right.
one second place, but one first place in my age group. But I took second and the Arnold was so humbling, so amazing, so powerful for me because I didn't where I thought I was going to stop and where I thought I needed to take him to.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Nah, we're going to go
Keep
we're
going.
going to go there." And I so walking away from the Arnold, I finished that was in end of February, beginning of March. So actually right before the 1 year mark of my dad passing away, I had done my first competition. I had become a world champion powerlifter. And then I went on to the Arnold and I completed the Arnold. I believe it was March 2nd or 3rd. And my
Okay.
dad had passed away that year before on the 6th. So
Mm.
almost to the date,
Yeah.
I had completed the mecca of platforms. And I actually met Arnold personally. He
Nice.
came in while we were lifting. I didn't realize he was walking in, and I went to sit back down, and I had lifting chalk on my hands, and there he was in my seats. And I was like, oh my gosh, and shook his hand. I got chalk all on him, and he was so kind to all of the girls lifting, and it was amazing,
Right.
and I think as amazing as it was and as cool as Arnold is,
Mm-hmm.
one thing that'll definitely stick with me is when I met Arnold Schwarzenegger face to face. I was so excited and happy, and I was like, wow, blown away. But my internal feelings, my little deep thoughts was he's not my dad. It's not Bill Powell,
Right.
And I thought, my dad would have wanted to meet him. I'm gonna say, this is awesome. I'm gonna say hey and stuff. And
Yeah.
I was super excited. I was like, yeah, Dad, look at this. Met Arnold. I have a picture with him right next to me. He's
Yeah.
awesome. Now in powerlifting goals wise, what I'm gonna do, it's hard for me because I don't want to say I did it all because I didn't. I reached some major milestones that people work their tails off for long periods of their life in
Mm-hmm.
such a small amount of time. But my grit, my grace, my gratitude towards all those people brought me there, and the love that I had for my dad, I wasn't gonna not make it. It
Right.
wasn't an option. So now for myself, I think my goal really is going to be, I don't get to go to Worlds this year, which is a little disappointing. I wanted to go, but I'm planning on training. I'm going to stick to my training, stick to my
Good.
dad's stuff, and I'm going to go to a competition early in the year 2026,
Okay.
and I'm still going to show up, at that platform, and I'm working on my strict curl. I'm working with John a little bit, and all the guys pouring into me and telling me what, giving me some good advice. And I plan on going to Worlds again next year. One of my biggest sources of pride has happened. It actually happened at my first competition, but my daughter, she's 8 now, but
Mm-hmm.
she was 7 at the time. And Papa and her were best friends, so
Mm.
close. My dad would train with her. There's videos on his
Oh,
Facebook
okay.
still of him like having her, pick stuff up and yeah, pouring into her. And I came home with medals, and she wore one of them to school. And she tells people, my mommy's strong.
Yeah.
My mommy's strong. My mommy's so strong. And
Kind of almost like reflecting maybe even the same way
yeah,
you were about your dad when you
seeing
were young.
that on her, that same pride, that same understanding that her mom is a little different. Her mom is a little, she has that powerhouse too. It's really given me that encouragement to now, I think, go more into the transition of who I want to be, who I want to have other people, get to experience. And I think for me, it'll be, still competing, working on my training, and going to a couple of competitions and showing up at Worlds 2026 and
Yeah.
seeing what everybody's got going on, and bringing
Yeah.
bringing that Bill Powell personality to everybody. I'm gonna love everybody, pour into everybody,
Yeah.
encourage everybody. I think almost every competition I lose my voice. I don't care who's at the platform. I am encouraging them. I'm yelling at them. I'm telling them, lightweight, pick it up, and I am like the biggest soccer mom on the sidelines for everybody. I'm like, let's go, and I'm the hype man. So I will definitely be showing up again. And I think my encouragement goals are going to be, to do that, to give my daughter some
Good.
more to see, some more to aspire to, and to be encouraged and know that's who
Sure.
she's got in her corner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah. So, besides competition, do you
Yeah.
see yourself carrying on your father's legacy in other ways?
Yeah. The way I interact with people now, the way I pour into my family, my friends, myself, it has definitely been an encouraging change. I didn't know what missing him was going to look like. I didn't know
Mm.
what that void was going to bring, and it's intimidating. It really have. I don't know if there's a way to grieve beautifully, but if there is, I think I've done it.
Gotcha.
He gave me all the right tools to be a good person, all the right tools to encourage others and to uplift and to show up. And by being reminded of who he was for other people, I'm reminded of who I want to be as
Yeah.
well. And
That's
I
awesome.
think there was just that, outside of competition,
Hmm.
I bring a lot of heart. I bring a lot of encouragement, a lot of pouring back into people. And sometimes, those things he did it so seamlessly.
Yeah.
He just showed up. He just always there. And
Sure.
for me, I think sometimes I have to work at it a little bit differently than he did, where like he would just have it, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I didn't follow up with this person. I need to follow up with this person. And so I think it also gives me a lot of encouragement to work towards those positive things that you want to bring back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what do you think if your dad could see you now? What do you think he'd say to you?
So I know what he would say to me. And I definitely know he's seen it. I heard it very loudly from everybody who loved him, and it can only come from the source himself. People would tell me attitude, and they would say, come on, Casey, yeah, Casey, and my dad, whether I won or lost, whether I did it for a little while or I did it for the rest of my life, my dad would have said, oh, that's have you guys heard about Casey? You know what Casey's doing? You know what Casey did? Man, she's a monster. Yeah, I knew she had all this potential. And sometimes when I'm lifting, when I fail my lifts, because I do, I'm learning. I'm getting there. But when
Yeah.
I fail my lifts, I hear him. I know what he would say, and he would say, "Don't quit.
Yeah.
Why? Come on, pick it up. Attitude. Let's go.
Sure.
And I know he's very proud of me.
Yeah.
I know he he saw it, and
Yeah.
he'll continue to. And that encouragement is something that I'm very excited for, because there'll be a
Mhm.
day I see him again, and when I see him,
Yeah.
I know that pride, that excitement is going to be what I meet.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. So what message would you want to give others who may be dealing with loss or grief, right?
Hmm.
Wait, hold on a second. My connection's been a little funny.
That's okay.
Hold on a second. All right. I'm going to ask that question again. What message would you want to give to others who may be dealing with loss or grief, but are trying to find strength in moving forward?
So the message I would give someone is, you have to do the hard things. You have to show up how they would have wanted you to show up. You have to make yourself and them proud. The hardest but most loving thing you can do for yourself and for them and their memory is to continue. You have to show up. You have to do the hard things. But on the other side of those impossible mountains, because I've stood at the bottom, I did not know any cues. I did not know depth. I did not know how much 225 pounds felt on my back. Okay, I didn't know. And standing at the bottom of those mountains looking up, it's intimidating. But you on the other side of it, so proud. And it doesn't matter what your mountain is. It could be getting up in the morning. It could be going to work. It could be loving others when you don't know how to
Even
reconnect with yourself.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, if you don't know how to love yourself, but somehow you got to figure out a way to love others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as much as it never made sense when I would hear my dad be that blunt either, because I would be like, yeah, okay, dad, so easy for you to say. But you've got to do it. You've
Yeah.
got to do it, because if you don't do it and you
Mhm.
just wish you had, you're going to always wish you had.
Right.
But if you do it, even if you don't hit your goal or you don't hit what you thought was most important initially, you'll get there. And people are so proud of you. People are watching you. People are there to support you. They care about you. You just have to show up for you too, because they would have. So
Yeah.
you do the things that they would have done. You show up and you love the way that they would have loved. And sometimes you go that little bit extra because you deserve it. The people around you deserve it. And eventually you come out on the other side stronger, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, or just, sometimes I look back on stuff and I go, wow, I went to the Arnold Classic. I am a world champion powerlifter. How is that even possible with zero training and less than a month to get ready for our first competition? And we can do a lot of amazing things. We don't tap into that until you really have to. So when you have to, be brave.
Yeah.
Do it courageously.
Hey, I love that last part. Just be brave, right?
Be brave. Yeah.
So how can people support you or follow along in your journey as you kind of honor your father's legacy?
So for me, I really just appreciate all of the continued love, support, messages, people checking in. I love that. It makes me feel like, not just that they haven't forgotten about him, but they don't forget about you either. Same thing, hold me accountable. Make sure I'm checking in with you. Show me the ropes, give me some tips, send me that next competition, that you think I can make it to, or whatever it is. Give me some of that kind of support, because honestly, that's what he would have done. He would have been pushing me, not letting me quit, not letting me fall behind, and asking how we're doing. And I think the best way people can support me is to show me you're doing the hard stuff. Show me that you're showing up for yourself. I want to see the encouragement. I want to see the power that you have. I want to be inspired
Right.
past what I lost. I want to see some of that, and I see a lot of it in the federation. I think the best way to support me and to encourage me is to check in, make sure I'm checking in, support me so I could support you, and I can't wait to see whoever I get to see. And if you're new to powerlifting, check out 100% Raw Powerlifting Federation. They're the best. Come over to the team.
That's it.
Meet everybody. You're gonna be loved on. You're gonna be supported, and let's go. Give me some more people to meet. Give me some more people to encourage.
Right on. Love that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great federation. I don't even want to date myself, but I started a long time ago. And once I got in, I was hooked. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even because of the size of the federation, because it was a small federation
Hmm.
when it first started out and everything, but it was the people that drew me closer to it and wanted
Yeah.
to be more involved in it. Like I said, like the Paul Bossies or
Hmm.
even the Gary Teeters.
Yeah.
At one point, I was the New York. I got so involved where I was for a short period of time. Well, for a few years in New York State, I was the the chair, the New
Oh,
York
you
State
were the
chair
chair for New York? That's
for New
awesome.
York.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was putting on meets there and enjoying people. That's how I met Gary Teeter, great
Yeah.
guy, and just a lot of other people um, through 100% Raw, and made a lot
Yeah.
of good friends, I guess you could say. Like even when
Yeah.
I haven't even met uh Coop,
Oh, you
but
haven't met Coop? Or have you yet or not yet?
we haven't met, right? Like we're
Ah.
giving out high five, fist bumps, hugging
Hmm.
on each other. But I interviewed him, we talked, and
Yeah.
that alone made me say, I like this guy, right?
Yeah, Coop is awesome, man. He's actually someone that definitely poured into me a lot too.
Mhm.
He's encouraging. He gives me tips for strict curl, and my dad told him, you're gonna be that guy in strict curl, and Coop's that guy in strict curl.
Absolutely.
Like Bolo, Kareem Bolo, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's in New York, and there's
Yeah.
so many people.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's all I got for you tonight.
Yeah,
We did it. We got through
we
it.
did it.
Great conversation. I loved hearing everything about yourself as well as hearing more about your dad, things I didn't know.
Yeah,
And again, I wish I had the opportunity to sit down and had that conversation with him because it just felt like it was going to be amazing, right? Just
yeah.
based on just the back and forth on our messages and texts and all that other stuff.
Yeah, you would have had, look, as much as I loved doing the interview, you would have had an interview with him. He was definitely a talker. So I mean, he was someone, he was a good person to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Okay, guys, there we have it. What an inspirational conversation hearing about your father's legacy and how you continue to carry the torch to remind us that strength is about more than muscle. It's about
Yeah.
heart, perseverance, and connection. If you took anything from today's episode, let it be this. Legacies aren't just built in records or Hall of Fame titles. They live in the people we inspire, the
Yep.
values we pass down, and the courage we show in the face of loss. So I want to just thank everybody. I want to thank our guest, Casey, for sharing her journey, and thank you for tuning in.